Hi, I'm Lori Penny with Paulding.com. The video that you are about to see is the video of the community meeting at Burnt Hickory Park on Thursday night. We have not done a lot of editing on this video. We are presenting it as a public service for those in the community that could not make this meeting. So it is rough, but it is the complete meeting of the Burnt Hickory community from Thursday night. We hope you enjoy it. Be patient as there's some pauses in the video, but you'll have a lot to learn about your local government and the people of the Burnt Hickory community that stood up for what they believed in.
Okay, and you're at, tell us where you're speaking from.
I am from the new Paulding.com office on Business 6, also known as Merchants Drive in Dallas, and we're very, very proud to be in our new building, and we look forward to the community dropping by and visiting us and giving us your input on how we can better serve you.
In the glasses.
I live on Burnt Road.
Yeah.
Let's see. You live right there.
Yeah, and where's it at now? Right? Oh my God.
Right across the road from me.
Yeah.
I know we still have people coming in as I'm speaking right now, so we said we would get started at 6 o'clock tonight, so we try to stay on time. I know we have people that have kids that need to get home and get to bed for school. So I am David Barnett. I am your post-war commissioner for this area. Tonight I am tickled to have this many people for turnout. When we have community meetings and stuff, I think we need this so we can explain what's going on around everywhere in the county. Getting started now, I'll give an introduction of guests and department heads. I am David Barnett. Chairman David Austin is here. County Administrator Mike Jones. Chuck Rand, Community Development Director. Scott Green, Department of Transportation Director. Michael Carter, Water and Sewer System Director. Blake Swafford, the Airport Authority Director. Jamie Gilbert, Economic Development Director. And we have Howard Maxwell here from the state. Howard, you can raise your hand. Bill Heath. And Bonnie Sibal from Board of Education now. Cochran. Excuse me. I was going by the other one. But reports, we're going to kind of explain to you tonight what is going on in the county before we get to the questions. First up will be Jamie Gilbert, will be Economic Development.
Thank you, David. It's great to see so many people coming out taking interest in what's going on in Paulding County. I'm one of the newest members of the team here. We are a public-private partnership with Paulding County Economic Development. We are an organization that was created back in 2010 with the mission to bring new jobs and investments to the community. We are funded by the Paulding County, the cities of Fire and Dallas, and the Paulding County Chamber of Commerce. We are essentially charged with working in 3 key areas. The first would be marketing Paulding County to businesses and our economic development allies across the state, meaning the folks at Georgia Department of Economic Development, Georgia Power, co-ops, and Metro Atlanta Chamber, to show them and showcase the opportunities we have available here in Paulding County to bring in new business. The second area that we work on is existing industry and working with companies that are here along with the chamber.
Bought the land with bond money with your help. That done in concert with the Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Environmental Protection Division for the state of Georgia. What does all that mean? Well, it means we did what they told us to do. And when they review it, it's not going to be, you didn't do it, what we told you to do, so we're going to deny it. When will they have the permit? I get that question all the time. I wish I had a crystal ball answer for you. The best guess is sometime late next year. The reservoir, the land purchase is about 650 acres. The reservoir itself will impound about 340 acres of water at full pool, 4.4 billion gallons. That water will be taken out of the Etowah River during high flow conditions and will be pumped about 4 miles through a pipe that's big enough to walk through to this point of the reservoir. One day there'll be a co-located treatment plant site over off of Highway 61. Construction on this reservoir, best case scenario, is probably 3 years out. Take a couple of years to build it, a couple of years to fill it. This reservoir is built, or will be built, to accommodate Paulding County's water needs through 2050. That's about 35 million gallons a day. Today we use about 9 million gallons a day on average. Some days more, some days less. But this will carry us through 2050. Today we purchase 100% of our water from Cobb Marietta Water Authority. Not Cobb County, Cobb Marietta Water Authority. That is a creation of the General Assembly. Cobb County purchases its water from Cobb Marietta Water Authority. So does North Fulton, so does Douglas from time to time. And then they have major water customers like Lockheed and I think Southern Tech and a few others, all the cities in Cobb. We've been purchasing water since Paulding County got in the water business back in the early 70s. And we'll continue to do that for some time. At least I had the opportunity to talk to so many people that live up in this area and let you know that the reservoir is, as Commissioner Barnett said, the best position it's been since it was dreamed up years and years and years ago. And I think I got a few emails earlier this week, and they said, can we talk about something other than the toll road? And the answer to that question is yes. So if you have questions about the reservoir, jot them down. We'll be happy to entertain those as well. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mike. Also, Todd Parnell's coming now. Everybody's working their way into the crowd now. One other thing, if you see the map up here with all the different colors, the state has just gone through and redistricted every post-commissioner's district in their area because of population. Myself, I had Yorkville, but now I will have everything going out 278 on the right-hand side. Todd took Yorkville, and I also redistrict Tommy's and Larry's also at this time. So, like I said, you come up here and look. If you live out in Yorkville area, see where you're at now, you'll see who your new post commissioners will be. Because like I said, they redid some of it. So, the next thing will be another huge project we have come to the county is the hospital. This is a great thing Wellstar's doing here. And David Austin, Chairman, will be speaking about that.
Thank you all for being here. As I came into office, I promised you I'd work on economic development. I promised I'd try my best to set an environment so that entrepreneurs could come in and be successful. And we're trying to set that stage. What you see right here is the new Wellstar rendering of the hospital. If you're looking at it, you're sitting on Bill Caruth Parkway. And right now, this building is constructed. So that's the first building you go out there, and they've got one of the best radiation centers. People are telling me it saves them a lot of mileage and a lot of trips to Cobb County, to Kennestone, or Cobb General. We're also hoping this is going to serve Polk and Harrison County, so we're excited. The area you see here is the second doctor's building. What they decided they had to do first was to draw doctors in here, specialists and that type of thing, before we started building a hospital. So this will be constructed. The certificate of need was already been turned in. If you do a replacement hospital, you have to go through the state and ask for a certificate of need. That certificate of need we should have back by, I'm being told, December the 2nd. So construction on this part of the building will begin in 2012 in April. You also see a thoroughfare, and you might see it better here. And these will be available, and will be available after this meeting's over if you got any questions. What you see back here, you go straight through and you'll go to the emergency section of the hospital, the operating rooms, and then of course the tall tower is the 100-bed tower. I was asked about LEED's silver certification, and that cost about $500,000. And I was asked if I cared more about LEED's silver certification. You all that's in construction understand it, most of us don't. But given the opportunity to put enough foundation in this hospital, build 2 more floors, I said my opinion is I'd like to see 2 more floors. Because LEED silver certification is on a piece of paper that you might have some publicity about it, but very little. Also, looking at this, I serve on the Wellstar Authority and I serve on the Wellstar Regional Board, and they're anticipating finishing the building up on Highway 41. That'll be an urgent care type facility. So you'll see Wellstar come on more and more and more. Questions about the old hospital, it could be an urgent care, it could be, based on people my age, baby boomer, I might need a nursing home in the future. So there's a great chance it could serve as a nursing home. So thank you all for being here, and also I'd like to see, tell Wayne Kirby, our former commissioner for this area, is in the back of the room too.
Yeah, after speaking with Mark Handy with Wellstar, it's pretty amazing how big Wellstar is, how powerful they are in the world. They are ranked number 7th in the world for hospitals. So I mean, that's pretty exciting to know we've got a hospital of that stature that's going to be in Paulding County. So the care they can give to the residents now. So next person I'm going to introduce will be Tom Blanton. He will be the moderator for tonight. If Tom can come up here. He's a very colorful person. He's a great person. I will say this, his dad just turned 100 this week. One thing I would like to say before we get started, there's not going to be no COVID.
You heard the man. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. One more time. Can you hear me okay back now? Yeah. Okay. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to open this to questions. It's my understanding the greeters will collect the questions and bring them to me. The responder to each question will have 3 minutes. And then I understand there's a rebuttal process of 2 minutes after that. So, bring questions to me and I'll ask the question and it can be directed to the appropriate person. We'll continue with questions on the toll road.
We know there's no road, but there's probably going to be one. And maybe it won't be a toll. I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe there'll be something different about it. Yeah, maybe we'll call it a different name. I don't know.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's take this one at a time, okay? Let's read the next question. Which route is more favorable? And I'm going to read several questions and perhaps we can get multiple answers in the interest of time. Which route is most favorable? If my property is affected by the toll road, do you plan to take some or all of our properties? Of the properties that are affected by the toll road, what will be the process to arrive at fair market value? Mr. Commissioner.
There is no toll road. Now, let me just address this. I know there are conspiracy theorists in the crowd. I'm your county chairman. The buck stops here. I looked at this road. I studied this road. Don't blame David Barnett. Don't blame Wayne Kirby. Don't blame any of the county people here, past or present. I studied the road, I looked at it. You know what I looked at? I looked at a McKinsey study that the state paid for in 2008. And they said a toll road was coming to Paulding County. Now, I walked in here in this job with my eyes wide open. I walked in with my hands behind my back. I walked in with a mountain of debt. I walked in without one bit of reserve. I cut your taxes and did everything I could to keep your services in place. I got Gary Gunness crying to me every single day how he's losing officers, and I'm trying to do everything I can to get us there. But I studied this road. McKinsey report said the road's going to be built. I decided I'd rather us make a decision where that road was going to be than the state. So when you say, where's the route? Well, you build a road three ways. You build a road with the feds, you build a road with the state, and I'm talking about intra-commerce, where you can build it across county lines, and you build it with a joint development authority. So when you look at a joint development authority, you meet with those folks and say, are you interested in studying a route for a toll road? We just heard from one of our DOT former directors on the board, and he said there are no more free roads. So if a major road is going to be built in the future, it's probably going to be tolled. So when I looked at it, I looked at all you guys, and I sat with Eric Braden on his front porch, and I said, Eric, I'd rather sit there with you and us decide as county citizens here where a road's going to go than the state come through and build a road where we don't know where it's going to go. Well, the reason I tell you there's no road is there's no joint development authority. I looked at it, I studied it, I did a feasibility study, which all of you in the room have bought houses. Some of you just built your own house so you knew what you were getting. But some of you built houses, and some of you bought houses, and the first thing you do in a feasibility study when you buy a house is ask for an inspection. And when you ask for an inspection, you pay for that. So that's a feasibility study. You probably pay something like 1%. We paid in the 1,000% money to study this road, to see where it might go. So if you're looking at somebody, look at me. If you're going to blame somebody, blame me. I'm telling you, I'm doing everything I can to keep the doors open. I'm doing everything I can. When people call me and they tell me that they're moving in with their mothers and daddies, or their mother and daddies are moving in with them, it's passionate for me. So I'm looking at everything. When I came into office, I told these guys, I said, if there's anything that you can put on the table for us to look at, to study, please put it on the table. It is wide open. So if you're looking to blame somebody, blame me, because I'm looking at everything possible. And I understand that it is all about economic development, which I promised you I would do. We formed a committee. We hired Jamie Gilbert. He's got 2 success stories. So I'm telling you today, there's no toll road. I haven't been working on it in months. I've said that. I'm sorry. I'm not working on it. I'm not doing anything, and I'm not leading. I'm not leading that effort. Look, the state, please don't yell out. But the state paid for this study. The state paid for this study. All I did was pick up on the study and read it and study about it and say, okay guys, do we want to make a decision where a road goes? Is that what we want to do, or do we want the state to make that decision? And we did not form the Joint Development Authority, and you cannot build a road without a Joint Development Authority. It's over, it's done, there is no toll road. I've been saying for at least a month, 2 months, there is no toll road. Now, we've got more questions to read, and I'll be glad to answer every single one of them. But let's don't yell out. If we do, the marshal's just going to ask you to leave the room. So I'll take the question. If they're written, would somebody pick up this man's question right back here for us? Tom, would you go ahead and ask any more questions?
Okay, the next question is...
Well, the first question, it was not answered.
Excuse me, please don't yell out. If you got a question, ask it. Write it on a sheet of paper, and we'll be glad to answer.
While we're waiting for these other questions to come up, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say something for the historic record. I was in the General Assembly in Georgia in the mid-1970s, and we had a thing called the West Georgia Tollway Authority to build a big toll road from Chattanooga all the way to Florida, paralleling US 27. It was defeated. It never was built, will never be built. That's been 35 years ago. So for the record, these things do come up, and they are defeated, and they don't happen. Okay? Now, let's move on. Should the focus be more on the east side of Paulding and not the west? 92 is a joke.
Well, I'll tell you what we've done. We've just met recently with Howard Maxwell, with Bill Heath, with Paulette Wright, and we met with the chief planner for the state. And they gave us dates and times. We made them so mad at us that they guaranteed dates and times that they would be acquiring property and widening Highway 92. And it's 3 phases. Highway 92 is 3 phases. Phase 1, 2, and 3 are in Douglas County. The Congressman David Scott got the money, the funding for the road project, and where we have to come into 92 and we deadhead into the railroad, they will bore under the railroad and move her over approximately a quarter of a mile. And so the 4-lane starts at I-20 and it comes to the Paulding County line. Phase 4, which we just have one gentleman that's working on phase 4, and he came to me and he said, I can't sleep at night because I have to keep telling you guys lies. Y'all need to go down to the state and you need to have a discussion. Bill Heath was kind enough to set the meeting up in his office. And so they gave us times and dates and they signed the letter. Bill, where are you? Where's Bill Heath? He's taller than that, he stand up. But he signed the letter right in front of him. So hopefully we're going to see Highway 92 at least up to where we built the bypass road.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Next question. Why are authorities presenting only favorable presentations to the people and not also calm arguments? It seems the people deserve to hear both sides.
Good question. When you form a joint development authority, you go in and meet with commissioners and you ask them, and you have to meet in an open forum in their commission meeting room, and you can't open records, sunshine laws. That's how we go into a meeting to ask them if they'd like to join the joint development authority to study this road, to study the road. And so you give dates and times, and everything is a fictitious date and time, but for planning purposes, that's how it's done. So there were some dates and some times, and I tell people this: if you took your finger at Red Top Mountain, and you took your finger at High Falls down below Henry County, and you connected those 2 dots anywhere you wanted to connect them, that could be your road.
Thank you. Is Resolution 11-09 going to be rescinded?
11-09 is a county resolution that we would join a joint development authority. And I'll bring that before the Board of Commissioners at our next meeting and ask them what the answer to that would be. My guess is that we will rescind that number.
Next question. Why did the commissioners vote on the joint authority before asking their constituents? Shouldn't the people be consulted on transferring their authority to other agencies and jurisdictions?
Great question. In hindsight's 2020, probably so. The advice I was given by tolling authorities is that you go and speak with the joint development authority and you form the development authority. If you do not have a joint development authority, you do not have anything to discuss. Not one single thing to discuss.
Let me add to that.
Paul?
question, and several of you had emailed me about how come we didn't hear about this before now? And that's a fair question. And I talked to, I imagine the folks are probably here, I've never met them before, but I said, well, if there's an idea about a road, and we hold a meeting that's very similar to this, and we said, we have an idea of a toll road to get from 75 to 75. And we held that, and we said, well, what do you think about that? To me, reasonable people would ask questions like, well, how much is that going to cost? I don't know, we hadn't studied it. Well, where's it going to go? I don't know. Well, how many lanes is it going to have? I don't know. How much the toll's going to cost? I don't know. The reasonable thing to do would be to do some homework. That's what we did. We did the homework, and it doesn't make sense to do it. So anyway, that's where we are. But that was the question, was how come you didn't tell us this beforehand? I didn't know what to tell you. Today I can tell you that there are some probable routes that could work. The project would cost about $2 billion to build. It's about 75 miles long. The interconnection would be north of Red Top Mountain and down below Henry County. But that's about what we know. You know what we know. Some people took the time to draw some boards out in the hallway there, and I know you're concerned about it. Listen, if I lived in Burnt Hickory, I'd be concerned about it too. I'm a resident of Paulding County and have been a long time. But the truth is, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And I heard somebody ask a question like, well, I know there's not a toll road, but is there going to be a road? No, there's not probably in my lifetime. Will there ever be a road there? There is not a person in this room can answer that question. Not one. So there may be a road one day. He's not chasing it. I'm not chasing it. David's not chasing it. Nobody in this room is. Is the state chasing it? Look, I moved here in 1990. I understand that y'all got promised Highway 92 would be wide in what? 88? 1970. Yeah, I mean, if you can't widen Highway 92 in 25 years, how long would it take to add a 5th runway to Parkfield? 30 years? And we're talking about a $2 billion with a B project. How many of those things do you think are flying off the shelf right now? None. There is no road. There's no road.
So the blue mark on the map is no longer...
The blue mark on the map is just a blue mark.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. It never existed. It was concept only. It was, is it feasible? Is it feasible to construct a piece of road through that area? And the blue mark said, if you were going to spend $2 billion to build a road, it might fit through this corridor. That's what the blue line was.
Why did you put the maps up forward then? Why are the maps out there for?
Let's write the question up.
Well, you take the route and you put the route on the map because that's part of the homework. Okay. Moderator? I'll respond to any questions that anybody has.
How long did it take us to get an airport here if we didn't want?
May I ask a question within which that answer probably will be given? And this is a very good question, considering your locale here. Has it ever crossed the Commissioner's mind that we enjoy the rural atmosphere and don't want a bunch of development? Do you know people move here, get away from big toll roads and interstates and development?
I grew up here. I walked on a lot of this property. I played on a lot of this property, and I hunted on a lot of this property. And I heard questions like, oh, you're going to go through Narrowway Church. You're going to go through the cemetery. You're going to go through Shady Grove. Now, folks, look at me. I wouldn't do that to anybody. Now, I had land that I owned that they put a dump next to. I had land that I owned that 500 houses got put on. I had a lake that got ruined and not one thing got done about it. Now, I'm not gonna do to y'all what was done to me, but I read a report in 2008 that said this road needs to be built. My idea, and this came from me, blame me. Don't blame another person in this room, blame me. The buck stops right here. I studied it. When you got people crying, when you got people telling you they're losing their homes and people moving in with each other, I've got to look at every idea that's on the table. And I'm glad to do that. I'm proud to do that. I'll admit to you, I did it. There were 2 people that called me. Everything else is internet, and everything else is bullcrap. Mike Holcomb called me, and Coleman Murdoch called me. 2 people out of this entire crowd called. And when they come meet with them or me, or call them or whatever I did, and we met. 2 people called. And you know, it's just so much fun for a whole month or more. It's been fun to hate me. It's been fun to build signs. It's been fun to be mad at me. It's been fun to build a conspiracy theory. My God, it's fun. And Eric Creighton told me, he said, you know what you just did? You know what you just did? You just woke up Burnt Hickory. And you know what I'm going to say? What I want to say no to is homelessness. I want to see, I like to see this many people have signs in their yard that says no to homelessness. Because there's 700 homeless kids in our county. There's backpacks that have to be packed every Friday for kids to be able to eat on Saturday and Sunday. So I get these calls, and so everything I look at is on the table. Then, when you do a feasibility study and you get with folks and you find out there's no joint development authority, there is no road. So for all those who enjoyed hating me and being mad at me for a month or longer, you got to get something new to be mad about, because there is no total. We're not studying it. We'll bring the resolution up in front of the people, and I'm telling you, I want to talk to you tonight about what good was happening in Paulding, instead of something that's not going to happen, but you wouldn't believe when I just kept telling you it's not coming.
Why would we?
Excuse me?
Please, next question. Next question. Now, these 2 questions together are similar, and they relate to a different project. How much money has been spent on the Western Commercial Connector project, and to whom? And then tied into that, will the Paulding County Industrial Building Authority have the power and authority to continue to explore and pursue the Western Commercial Corridor project?
The money that's spent, best I can estimate, about $90,000. Where's Blake? Is there someone, is that an accurate number?
Yeah, between 90 and
Yeah, that got spent on the feasibility study on the project. I think David alluded to a survey you would do on a house. I ran those numbers. It was 0.00014% of a $2 billion project. It's a fair assessment to take a look at it. And the second one,
Will the Paulding County Industrial Building Authority have the power and authority to continue to explore and pursue the Western Commercial Corridor project?
do they have the power to do that? Sure. Will they do that? No.
Okay, the next question, I think.
I think that was answered completely. Where was the $90,000 spent?
Oh, okay. Where was the $90,000? There was a company called Croy Engineering that was hired by the Industrial Building Authority. I think the lion's share of it went to that engineering firm.
And where are they?
I'm sorry?
Where are they located?
They're located out of Marietta. There was another company called Cambridge Systematics, I believe. They were the ones that put together the toll and revenue numbers. They studied how many trucks would actually use it, and how many people would use it, and how much toll would be collected, and how those bonds would be repaid.
And we could have spent the $90,000 in Paulding County instead of sending it to Marietta?
It did exist. Those expertise did exist. When you build a project that big, the bondholders, the folks that have the money that would fund a project like this, there's a certain level of expertise that they want to rely on. The total revenue numbers, there's probably 3 or 4 companies in the entire country that these large financial institutions would believe their report. So it's a waste of money to put together a report that you send to the bond companies when they're not going to accept it. They're going to send it back and say, that's a good shot at it. I don't believe if you don't use this firm, this firm, this firm you picked.
Thank you.
The next question deals with revenue bonds. That's kind of a mysterious subject for most people, so I think that deserves a response. Please explain how county revenue bonds work. Are taxpayers liable for the bonds issued for a public-private partnership in the event that the enterprise is not successful?
There are two primary types of bonds. One is a revenue bond, as I alluded to, and one is a general obligation bond. A revenue bond is issued when there is some sort of funding source that would go to the payment of the bond, meaning not your tax dollars. So if you build something like you build a water tank, that would be something that you would use a revenue bond for, because you issue water bills, those bills get paid, and the funds that get paid go to repay those bonds. So that's sort of how a revenue bond works. Everybody sitting in this room, including me, are on the revenue bonds. It's no different than a venture capital in some ways. If the enterprise fails, the taxpayers are ultimately on the hook to pay those bonds off. Now, have we ever had a revenue bond in the history of Paulding County not be successful? No. Have there ever been revenue bonds somewhere in the United States that were not successful? Certainly. But you have to look at each one of them and it's on there.
Okay, back to authorities again. This is a broad question. Does the current development authority law for the state of Georgia allow for transportation projects?
I'm going to let Blake, if you want to respond to that one.
Hi, Blake Swafford. I am the director of the Paulding County Industrial Building Authority, which is the entity that did the studies having to do with this road. The current law in Georgia under Joint Development Authorities allows for any type of infrastructure project to be done with the Joint Development Authority. So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is the ability to do things like condemnation and things like that, which would potentially be needed for a roadway project like this. Those have to be handed down from the Board of Commissioners. So it is not feasible that a Joint Development Authority in and of itself, without the support of the local county leadership, could do a project like this.
Sir, that was my question. Do I get a follow-up on that?
Please do.
Sure, okay.
Would you stand, please?
What is the purpose of House Bill 475 that has been proposed in the state legislature? Sir, what is the purpose of House Bill 475 that has been proposed in the state legislature, if this other is totally correct?
Howard, can you answer that?
No, I can't. I have no idea. We had about 800 bills last year. I have to go back.
Well, I have a brief description of it.
I have no idea what that bill number.
I have a brief description of it if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah, you can read it. Well, I'm not sure I can
It
get
is a
it.
bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 62 of Title 36 of the OCGA, the Development Authority laws, so as amend the definition of the term project to include facilities owned by public or private entity, or a combination of the two integrated for purposes of trade, commerce, industry, or employment opportunities. To provide that such items include highway facilities, surface transportation projects, and projects that are related to transportation. To provide for servability in the event a portion of this act is found to be unconstitutional, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
So wait, you probably know more about that than I do. Did that bill be made out of committee? I think that bill probably went back into committee. I don't think we voted on that this year.
Well, I think it's still pending legislation.
It's pending legislation. I serve on 4 committees: education, I'm chairman of retirement, I serve on insurance and the appropriations committee. But usually we don't see those bills. They're working in committees, subcommittees, and until they come out through the rules committee to the House floor, we look at them. They're on the consideration calendar, see what we need to do with them. But that never made the consideration calendar this year, so I'll be honest with you, I'm not familiar with that bill. Blake may have an idea of what it to do with it.
Well, it appears that this would occur in order to allow the development authority to continue with this project?
It hasn't moved out of committee yet, so it's still in the House. It'll be in the bylaws of the House chamber next year. It goes back to the committee. We're in a biennial session. It'll go back to the committee this year, even if it got the rules that wasn't voted on. It'll go back to the committee this year to be looked at again, and if they decide to move it forward, it'll go back into the rules committee before it comes to the House floor. We've taken no action on the bill.
But if it did complete, that would allow the developmental authority to do.
Sounds like it would. I'd have to go back and study it and find the purpose of the bill, sir, and I wouldn't can answer that. Not been on the committee before we looked at it during the session.
So that would indicate that the developmental authority does not currently have the authorization to go forward with something like that.
Correct.
Correct. Follow up on the bond question. Can you hold just a minute till we get a microphone to you?
Are you required to hold a referendum before you issue these revenue bonds? Does it come up for a vote for the people?
The answer to that question is unfortunately maybe. It depends on the project. Including myself, no one in here got the opportunity to vote on bonds that constructed the courthouse. We just didn't. This project was not a revenue bond. The reservoir was purchased with general obligation bond, which means repaid with taxpayers' dollars. That particular one did go on a ballot and was voted on. But it's not always the case where the citizens actually get the opportunity to vote on those projects. But in all cases, regardless of whether it's general obligation or revenue bonds, it does have to go before the Superior Court, and there is a public hearing that allows public input at the court hearing before the Superior Court judge will authorize the elected officials to go borrow the money.
I heard a question earlier, and it was made derogatory. Why would you believe it? Well, I grew up here 7 generations. I grew up here and I got to face David Walraven, who's in the community. I got to face Mike Holcomb. I got to face Jimmy Tibbetts. I got to face Kerry Gulledge. I got to face all these people. I can't face you and not tell you the truth. My dad always told me, look a man in the eye, shake his hand, and it's as good as writing in the check. And I'm telling you, that's what I just did for you. And that's what I've been trying to tell you. So, you know, why believe it? Well, it's not happening. Well, isn't it a lot more fun to believe about something that's not going to happen? Well, neither am I. Neither am I. I'd love for this meeting just to be about this stuff. That's what I'd like for it to be about. Yes, sir, you got a question in the back.
While that question is being brought to the front, let me ask another question that sort of aligns with the idea of the tollway. How does this project, the tollway, align with the GDOT high-speed light rail project?
It doesn't. I don't have a lot of information about the GDOT high-speed rail project, but it was not envisioned that this would have anything to do with it. I will tell you, as part of the concept for this project, it was envisioned that it would have a wide right-of-way in case there might ever be one day in the future some form of rail, but that was sort of pie in the sky stuff. But it doesn't have anything to do with anything GDOT's working on with regard to high-speed rail.
Okay, back to economic development and jobs. If jobs are such a big deal, wouldn't it make more sense to use our land for a new company to relocate here and put our new economic development program to good use rather than utilizing our property to bring a highway that's destroying our area and bringing drugs and traffic to our area? Large companies are more beneficial.
I didn't see a question there, but I agree with what's being said.
There was a question asked, which one would be more beneficial to our area?
Oh, certainly. I'll take General Motors manufacturing facility every day. Those are. I agree with you completely. Economic development jobs is definitely better than something that brings drugs and traffic into our area.
And the focus, and you'll have a chance to rebuttal if you want to, but that's the reason I formed this 100-person economic board, And that person formed a 9-member board, and they hired Jamie Gilbert just to bring those manufacturing jobs to Paulding County.
And that makes a lot of sense to bring companies here, go out. You know, our governor went over to China recently and tried to get, you know, companies to come over here. It makes sense to bring people to it. We're the largest county in the state of Georgia as far as land. So doesn't it make sense to try to get people to come here and not to tie it up and put a road that wouldn't benefit? It wouldn't benefit our community to make us, it wouldn't benefit our community and the people of our area as far as getting to Atlanta and making that easier for us to have a toll road. The toll road benefits people from the south, cut through the outside, and it, you know, it helps with the airport, and I know that's the push. But at this point in time, that's not what we need. It doesn't help our people. We're not gaining anything from them.
Feasibility, and you're exactly right. It's feasibility to find out if a road with services. That's all it was. To look at something and see if it makes sense.
And it may seem like it makes sense, and I know what you're saying. And can I ask one question? The joint authority that you're talking about, was that with the other counties that were beneath us where the road was supposed to tie through?
That was 7 counties and 2 cities. And any one county could opt out, and it doesn't happen.
So when Carroll and Lamar counties opted out of it, it should have been slam shut then and not a different route drawn to go through Polk County?
It was. It was. There were always multiple routes. As I stated a while ago, you could take your finger at I75, which looked like a good spot for Red Top Mountain, and connect High Falls down below. So all you're trying to do is get 75 connected to 75 and not have to get on 285. The state says the road, they said in 2008 that they wanted to do the study on the road and that had to be built. My idea was, well, let's look at that and see if it makes sense. Let's just look at it. That's why I asked, you know, to join the other counties and say, is this something feasible to look at?
But Paulding County didn't shut it down, right? I mean,
I see where you're headed with that. There was, after Carroll County took a look at it, I think it may have been before Lamar County, they did vote on it. They said, look, we're not interested. But we did look at the road beyond what they had looked at and what they had voted on, but it was, you wouldn't want to give up on the very first county that looked at that if this thing might make sense. So we looked at it, what is it that's making you not want to do this? Should we slide it this way, slide it that way? Does it make sense to go this way? So there was a little bit of work that was done to see if you can get them back on track or back to the table to take a look at it, if it was going to be successful. Well, shortly after that is when Lamar County said, I don't think we want to play either. And after that, I was like, well, okay, it's done.
Okay, one other follow-up question with regard to the Joint Development Authority. Is it required to register with the Secretary of State? And if the answer is yes, who comprises the Joint Development Authority?
Blake.
The short answer is yes, it does have to be registered with the Secretary of State, and follow-up, I think, was it hasn't been, and no, it hasn't been registered with the state because it was never formulated, so there's nothing to register with the state.
And while you're up here, Blake, a follow-up question since it is on the airport. Is it true that you're planning for a for-profit air show at the Paulding Airport? And if so, what kind of safety provisions would be provided?
I would love to think it's going to be a profitable air show. Most air shows break even, so we're crossing our fingers and hoping that if we do an air show in 2012, then it will break even. So no, it's not for profit. We had a gentleman.
We don't like it.
I don't know what that was, but
Either way, we don't like it.
well, thousands of people attend air shows every year, so somebody likes it. We are looking at an air show next year. We have a gentleman who lives in our community, raised in our community, just like myself, grew up here his entire life, who has a lot of expertise in air shows. He's flown in them. He's flown with the military, with the Heritage Group in the military. He's flown as a civilian in his own aircraft. He is currently heading up our committee to look at doing an air show in 2012. And obviously the purpose of the air show is not to make money. that has absolutely nothing to do with it. Is to provide a community event for the residents of Paulding County, and hopefully to educate folks like the young folks over here as to careers and opportunities in aviation for the future.
Okay, another joint development authority question related to, I think in a broad way, what happens when roads come near you in the first place? So the question is, how would the joint development authority have acquired the land for the right-of-way for the toll road in the event that any of the property owners did not want to sell? That's true with regard to any road.
I think the question is really asking, would you condemn my property? The answer to the question is absolutely. But like you said, there is no joint development authority. It doesn't exist. But how would they get the property? They would have to condemn it. You're living in fantasy land to think a road would go through as many parcels as this would touch, and that every single person on that road would willfully say, here, take mine for fair market value. But it just wouldn't happen, like you said, for any road. So the answer to the question is condemnation would have to be used in order to build something like this. But there is no joint development authority, so it doesn't apply.
No fair market value, no fair market value.
Yeah, I understand. Believe me, I understand.
Yes, I mean, nobody's going to be facing that.
Yeah, and they're not going to be facing it. Yeah, it's not coming to them.
And I'm still not convinced, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. I got all the for you guys, but I'm still not convinced.
Okay.
In that regard, Mike, as it relates to property values, this is a pertinent question that ties into your point. With the way the market is with real estate, will it drive the price of real estate down even further to the homes directly next to the road? Well, that's true of any road.
I mean, I can't look in a crystal ball and see. I think it would depend on where it is. I think the vast majority, if you're talking about, is my home, if a road went through next to my house, is my home worth what my home was? No, of course not. But are these 4 houses now considered commercial property and you could build something on it? Maybe, depending on where they're located. But I think the obvious answer is no. As far as the house goes, living there, quality of life, I don't think it'd be worth as much as it was.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I've gone through about 15 pages. I think as far as the tollway is concerned, there's a lot of overlap and duplication. I think we've answered most of your questions. If there's another question with regard to the tollway that has not been answered, I think we should open this one more time to the tollway.
I'd like to have a follow-up to an earlier question.
Please.
Well, first of all, my name's Eric Creighton, and I'd like to maybe diffuse a little bit of tension in the room. And thank our elected officials for coming out here tonight in God's country. And give these guys a little bit of credit. Don't you know when they were driving up 61 tonight, they felt like they were coming into the lines. And, you know, I just, appreciate you guys coming out here and being willing to meet with us and answer our questions. And, I hope this is going to be the first of many such meetings, and I hope we get this good turnout every single time. I just wanted to maybe explain to you guys how it looks from our perspective, because, this talk of conspiracy theories and all these kinds of things. And, keep in mind, there's probably a good chance that most of the people in this room have read that Resolution 11-09. And the exact wording of that resolution is to create and activate a joint development authority for the purpose of constructing and operating a limited access highway. Okay, that's not anybody's imagination. That's not conspiracy theory. That is the document. That's what it says. Okay, and then in regard to, people not being forthcoming, David, you know that you and I have been on 2 different occasions for 2 hours each time, and I appreciate that very much. I want to give you credit for that. I don't know that we agreed on very much, but you did meet with me. And also, I know there's a good many in this room that contacted their post commissioner, and I know I contacted my post commissioner, and a lot of other people did too. So, and honestly, over a period of several weeks there, what we were told at various times, it kind of evolved over time. So that's yet another reason to cause us to be, a little skeptical. And so, that's kind of where we are. I appreciate very much that you were very clear on your willingness to have another follow-up resolution to rescind or deactivate or whatever the word it needs to be, that -09. And that's the main thing I came here to hear tonight. I don't know about everybody else.
Okay, this is another airport question, Blake. Is it true that when building the Paulding County Airport, that it made longer and thicker runway to accommodate 747s or larger planes?
That's a good one. We have documents in our office that are open to the public. They're actually filed with the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. They're called airport layout plans. And what they are is they're the official documents that show the design guidelines for the airport. It has the design classification of the airport. It has the design aircraft for the airport. It has every single piece of information on there that you would need to know exactly what the airport was designed for, exactly what it will accommodate, and not just for today, but for the future. In other words, it has the current design and it has what it calls an ultimate. So if you look in that ultimate category, and again, these are on file at the FAA and they're at the airport as well. So you're welcome to come out and take a look at them. So it shows what it's designed for today and what ultimately it's designed for. The design criteria that we use on the airport is 90,000 pounds for the landing configuration of the wheels in the aircraft. That is a business jet. It is a Gulfstream, a Citation, a Falcon, whatever business jet you want to pick. That's what that is a business jet. A 747 has a landing weight of somewhere around 500,000 pounds, at 500,000 pounds. That's 5 times, nearly 6 times what our runway could handle. So I've had people ask me 1,000 times, could a 747 land here? And my answer has always been, absolutely, it could land here once. But never get out. It buried up to its belly in the runway. So I hope that answers that question.
Yes. The next two questions are related, and the commissioner has just given me the answer. I'll read the first one. The other counties opted out, so you're telling us that Paulding County opted out also?
Yes.
That answers both of those questions, okay?
I have a question on that.
Follow-up question.
I have a question on that question.
Okay.
If they opted out at that time, when Carroll County voted to go down, they were out at that time, then why 2 months ago was the IBA voted to go ahead and push the tow road together? Go ahead and push the tow road on. That was 2 months ago. That was after all this was voted on.
Mr. Chairman?
There's always been discussions, and at IBA, there's discussions all the time, and all these meetings are open to. They're at the airport, and hopefully you have a chance to come to those and see what's happening in the Industrial Building Authority and the airport. And you think that, there's some kind of conspiracy there. There's not. We're out.
Can I have a rebuttal, so I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, so everybody's opted out now. Is there any effort from Paulding County to go and talk to the other counties to get them back in?
Have you known me the longest amount of time than anybody in this room?
That doesn't mean a thing.
Probably since I was a kid. So I just looked him in the eye, I just shook his hand, and I just told him, we're not building the tow road. You can only build a tow road through intra-state with a joint development authority.
So So there's no effort from Paulding County to get the Joint Development Authority started?
To continue seeking out other counties.
No more effort is going into the total. No more effort is going into the joint development.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is one other question I think very relevant in the future. So before you leave, our chairman probably needs to address this, and any other commissioner as well. Where do you see the county financially in 2 years? Where do you see the county financially in 2 years?
Well, if you look, and I'll have you look at this chart right here. I came into office, and this is 2005, 6, 7, and 8. The taxes started going down when I took office in 2009. Did I do that all by myself? The property value, great. Your property value went down. So you have two things that control your taxes: millage rate and property value. So those are the two things that that you figure your taxes on. So when your property value goes down, your millage rate stays the same, you got a decrease. If it increases slightly, you still have a decrease over the previous year. Do I have a crystal ball to know where we are? I've cut $12 million out of the budget. I've had to unfortunately let 60 people go to balance the budget. But what I have to do, the federal government doesn't have to do, is balance. And that's what I've done, is balance the budget. And still try to keep our officers with Sheriff Gulledge out of harm's way, our fire department, still try to give you some libraries, still try to give you some protection, but cut our taxes as much as I possibly could to continue to exist.
There was one follow-up question here. Ma'am, could you stand up, please?
Receiving wages, and I think the reason there's so much scarcity here, David, we voted this airport down 3 times, but we got that airport.
I think
that's why they're worried about the toll road.
I think that's a good question. And I had a gentleman somewhere back here who said to me, you know, we were told this about the government center, and we're told this about the airport. I wasn't your chairman when that was done. That was voted on by previous commissions, and I inherited that airport. Now, am I going to make that airport be successful? Every way I can. If the federal government spends $50 million on an airport, and you don't run it correctly, guess who's going to be running your airport? So I'm trying to do everything possible. The first thing that I'm trying to do, and we backed the bonds on, was a box hangar so that jets, small jets, could come here and be worked on and do maintenance. Here's Dave Baroda, he's a pilot. He flies for the Air Force. And he'll tell you, if you got jets here, then you start building a base, a tax base for taxes to help offset. I'm a property landowner just like you guys. And I pay taxes just like you guys. And so any way in the world I can hold down your taxes, that's what I want to do. And grow jobs all at the same time. That's not an easy task.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at 7:25. I want to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes. Now, I'm going to answer the next question myself. I'll tell you why. Closing the library on Wednesday saves $20,000 per year. How can you justify spending $90,000 on a maybe project? Now, the $90,000 was mentioned earlier. It's apples and oranges. I have served as the chair of your Paulding County Library Board for a couple of years. And on my watch, that process of budget reduction took place in cooperation with the county. Hopefully you know that you have a board of trustees of the Paulding County Library System, including about 7 key citizens. And those individuals served 3 years, and they fully cooperated with the county in trying to squeeze out every dollar consistent with what Chairman Austin said to get this budget balance for the year that we're facing. Is there any need, Mr. Chairman, to address the $90,000 part of this as far as priorities are concerned?
As we addressed it earlier, is a feasibility study to look at and see if this makes sense. If the Joint Development Authority had been joined by other counties, we would share in that responsibility. But I'm an innovative kind of guy. I've got to look at everything that's out there on the horizon. And then some are good and some are bad. Some you don't even hear about. Some are dead, as this toll road was, before it really ever even becomes an issue. And I'm sorry that it upset anybody. I wouldn't do that for the world. Now, I've lived among you. I've grown up with you. I've gone to church with you. I've gone to school with you. I'm not going to lie to you. Now, the courthouse was built before I got there. The airport was built before I got there. So all I can tell you is what I'm going to do on my watch. Thank you all. And now, I'm going to be available to the last person here satisfied before I go home tonight. So if you want to meet with me, if you still doubt me, I'll give you a little blood, whatever you're going to need to convince you that we're not building the toll road and there is no Joint Development Authority. But I will tell you, again, I look at it, I study it, and I'm going to do that every day for you. I give you all the best 50, 60, and 70 hours of my week. And if you don't believe me, come right to me. I would enjoy that. Okay, what?
In a total attempt at fairness, there will be 2 further questions, and perhaps Commissioner Alston or any other commissioner might respond. What financial benefit was the toll road supposed to bring if the airport cannot support freight aircraft in Blake?
The way I looked at the road, we're in the worst recession in my lifetime. I'll be 62 in January. And I looked at a concept when they built Hoover Dam to put people back to work. So if you're a logger, if you're a grader, if you're a concrete worker, if you're in asphalt, if you're in steel working, and I looked at this project and said, oh my God, we could put a lot of people back to work. And then the other thing I looked at is where it crossed major highways, which this is limited access road that we looked at. As we looked at this road, where it intersected a major state highway could be looked at as an economic engine. The model that I looked at is the counties that had a river, which you can't build a river, and they had an interstate. When they got both of those, they're the most successful cities and county in the entire state. Here was an opportunity for us to look at a state road that they were looking at. They had paid for the study. All I did was pick up and look at it and say, let's see if we can run this through a part of Paulding County to bring people back to work. I'm telling you, that's what I came in this to do, is to bring people back to work, and that was going to be the economic benefit I could look at. Now somebody said, oh well, they're going to get rich, it's going to go through David Austin's land. My land ain't nowhere near this. My land is next to a dump, if you heard me say that already. So unfortunately, it's not anywhere close to my anything that I own.
I'll just add briefly to that. The areas where the intersections would have gone, well, like the chairman said, was looked at as the economic benefit to Paulding County. The truck traffic was a way to fund it. So they went hand in hand. The question came from that way somewhere. I think we have one more.
One last question relevant to the tollway approach and public opinion input. Mr. Chairman, was there any difference in the way you handle this within Paulding County as compared to the other counties that participated in the process?
No. We voted on it in commission meeting. We looked at it in IBA. We looked at it at open meetings. We looked at it at the Chamber of Commerce. And I'm telling you, it was everything was looked at above board. And I took the advice of our largest landowners that we have here. If you know the Sheffield family and the wildlife management, they were my consultant. If you know Alan Bullock, who manages the balance of the Jones property, if you know Four Star, those are people that gave me advice. So I didn't just pick this idea up one day. I looked at a state study that they had that was paid for and tried to look at how it might help Paulding County. That's all that I did. Plus, I got a Marine in the back that if I lied to him, I know I would get an ass whipping. Yes, ma'am, you hit the hand.
Did the other counties put in any money towards this $9,000 at all? Some of the counties who were maybe for it?
No,
And in regards to
because it never got formed. And if it had been formed, they would have put money into it.
completely initiated by Paulding.
Completely.
And in regards to the commercial property and how much it was drained, from what I understood, there wasn't going to be that many exits. So you being next to the road, we can give you commercial property if there's no way that you can get to it. So
Yeah, I agree.
your land is.
Correct.
I agree.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
Okay, one question. Was it gonna be some type of truck route to bypass Atlanta? Was that?
Yes, sir. The other thing that we looked at is we have the Savannah Port Authority flying airport in Midlands. And they're looking at this. You know, will this road happen through the state some way? I'm telling you, I looked at the study. If you look at the deepening, the widening of the Panama Canal, and you look at the deepening of the Savannah Port, and you increase truck traffic by 86%, where do you think those trucks are going to go? And there's only 4 cities in the United States that have more freight traffic that moves through its city or outskirts than Atlanta. Atlanta's, I think, the 5th largest freight mover.
One other question, okay,
Yes,
I
sir.
work for a very large truck company in Marietta, and you know, you're talking about jobs. I mean, I go to Marietta, I get $20 an hour plus, okay, and I'm happy to have that job. Plus, I lived there all my life and enjoyed this quiet, peaceful environment. But what I was going to say, if you take that road through Paulding, it's not going to be some type of unit domain where the government says that they don't bypass the local county government and say, we need that. We need that truck traffic to go from Atlanta, bypass all this congestion, 285, because you said high point, isn't that where the scale is down there, where 16 and 75 comes together and Macon?
High Falls. High Falls is way above Macon, but you make a good point.
Where the scale is. But what I was going to say though, you got 2 major rail container facilities just within 20 miles of Paulding County. And we need to make some kind of progress in developing jobs, because like Fairburn, where there's a major container, CSX container yard, there's all kind of warehouses going there. You got like Johnson, you got Quaker Oaks, all kind of people moving in because they containerize the freight from California over here. But I was just wondering, if you take truck traffic away from Atlanta and you send it right through here, it's going to be just, it's just going to...
Your president of your Georgia Motor Trucking Association just said there must be bypasses built. He just was quoted in the Atlanta Business Chronicle. The article came out. It's in this last week. I think it runs from October to November the 3rd. But your president of your trucking association said, yes, bypasses need to be built. That's why I looked at it. Because they said the truck traffic is going somewhere. And I thought there could be some sort of benefit to Paulding County. So now, the state makes this decision, not us. Yes, sir.
In light of, you're saying we're not going to have the total, okay, so that's established. But what I want to know, are we going to restrict on all these other projects, these illegal aliens and these Mexicans and everything coming in and working? Why don't we make it like Cobb County, where we got to have our people working?
I agree with you. My brother Boyd was just put on that board. So we'll be hearing more and more of what will be happening with that.
As a follow-up of that, can you make it public that you are or they are ways that we can make this a permanent situation? Because I believe what you say. I look at you straight on. But I want something in writing so that we all will have some benefit in this county. Because I've been living here 32 years, and we've got some benefits in this county, but nothing like Cobb County, and we're paying the same taxes.
Well, it's a good point. I-75 runs right through Cotton County. And don't think for a moment that it's not successful because the I-75 runs through. It is. And that's one of the reasons I looked at this thing. The other reason was the Savannah Port. Those trucks are going to go somewhere. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Can you say that, you keep saying that you're not going to do this, all the time you have to do this, but can you assure us that the state's not going to come and do it?
No, ma'am. I just told you, the state just wrote in the Atlanta Business Chronicle that they're studying this and it must be
Are
done.
they studying the same route? Or is it still be
I couldn't tell you. There was no round. There was a feasibility study that said the road needed to be somewhere, but it could have been anywhere.
Well, you have to understand, the blue line goes right into my backyard, so of course I'm going to be concerned. You know, whether you're saying you're not going to do it or the state's going to do it, I still think the blue's going to do it.
There's only 3 ways to build a road intrastate, where you cross other counties. That's a joint development authority, that's dead. That's the state and the feds. That's it. So what the state does, I couldn't tell you. Bill, he's here, and
Assisting the state in that way?
I haven't talked to him, no.
Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, I believe you did say that you would stick around and talk to anybody. There's one gentleman back here who's been waiting forever. Would you please state your question, sir? Stand up, please.
61 highway, Hardersville to Dallas, all the way for 4 lane anytime soon.
Question is 61 highway from Cartersville to Dallas going to be 4 lanes anytime soon?
Well, we have our state representative and our state senator back here that may answer that question, because I can't answer for the state. So I'm going to let you guys answer what the state's going to do.
Ask that one more time. We have to say no, Howard.
Sir, it's taken us 30 years or more to try to work on 92. That's been a project since somebody said 1970. I got involved with it on the school board back in the 80s. School board. It will be, but may not be in my lifetime. I doubt it'll be in my lifetime. And I don't know. It's a conceptual plan out there, but we're still trying to get 92 paved, 4 lane district of Douglas County up to the new connection we're putting in. And I want to mention something, David, also. They talk about state funds for the other one. No, don't run off. It's a quick answer. I can assure you we don't have $2 billion. Somebody was asking about the state funding toll road. I don't know where $2 billion comes from for that. We can't, I don't see it.
Now, you asked me, he just asked a question, and don't think for a moment that there's not worldwide money available for a project. If a piddly little commission chairman has got access to Central out of Spain or RBC Capital, do you not think the governor does? Folks, what I'm trying to tell you is tolling is the future of the way roads will be built. That's the way your roads will be built. If there's worldwide money, if you know there's no place you have your money today that would earn you, who's getting the best interest, 2%? So they would look at projects like this, pay to have it done, and then wait for 30, 40, or 50 years for them to be paid back. So no, the state doesn't have the money, but the state has access to the money. Yes, ma'am. Well, because the state didn't do it. And the state in itself doesn't have money. It's not in their budget. The only way that it'd be anybody's budget is for a toll authority to be built and toll and charge trucks a fee to be on that road. And they would pay a fee for some road in the future that would keep them on 285, because you can't plan to go to any event in Atlanta and not be an hour early or an hour late. You just can't do it.
And you probably wouldn't spend $9,000 looking at the scenario for it to be happening here. If it really probably wouldn't be a great idea for it to be here, right?
Well, I agree with you. Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, people.
Hold on, that guy had his hand up the entire time.
Okay.
If the state does decide it wants to put a road through our county, can we count on our commissioners, all of you guys, to stand up with us, speak our voice, and resist them?
Very fair question. When the governor gives you money to build a reservoir, and the governor gives you money to build an airport terminal, and then you turn your back on him, I think that's an ugly way to do business. But am I going to pursue him? Absolutely not. If he comes to me and needs my help, there's no way I can help him on a state road. So no, sir. The answer is no. I don't want to be ugly about it. I don't want to be nasty to the governor, because you need a lot of things from the governor. Some of these other guys might. But I'm not going to be nasty about it. But no, I'm not interested. And this meeting was going to happen if the Joint Development Authority had been formed. You would have had your input and your say-so. So the answer is no. I wouldn't pursue it with them at all. If they come through, they go where they want to go, and we can't stop them. That's why
You're letting yourself off the hook.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
It's going to happen. And I don't understand how it can make sense to happen. So, like I said, I can see it happening, and I can see why it makes sense to do it, and it's progress and all of that. But
all I looked at was, if it's going to be built, I'm going to be in charge of it. Now, we're not in charge of it. If it gets built, the states or the feds are in charge. And I don't make the decision where the state makes the decision where they're going to go. When you get to know me better, you know I'm telling you the truth. Yes, sir.
Commissioner, with all due respect, thank you for meeting with us tonight. But I have a YouTube video here that I can play for you, dated September 21st, 2001, where you and Mr. Swafford are pitching this project to the state. So I can show it to you. You were meeting with the Gina Evans, that is the state toll road commissioner that's responsible for the I75 hot lanes. What a good project that is.
It's a very good question. Now, as you're meeting with the state, it takes months to get an appointment. I had an appointment set with Gina Evans to talk to her about tolling if this were to ever happen with the Joint Development Authority. How would the tolling be handled? Had that meeting. Made a comment at the IBA meeting. I'm filmed at everything I do. I'm usually filmed in the restroom. So I don't make a move without you guys knowing about it. So yes, sir, we did. And what I said to Gina is, tell me how this works. And there's one single tolling authority that the governor wants them to use. And I said to her at that time, this is probably not going to happen because we do not have a Joint Development Authority. If we were, would you do the tolling? And she said, the governor said they'll have one tolling agency, and that's the one that Miss Evans runs. So yeah, I did have the meeting, but it was a meeting that was set up way ahead of time, and the project at this point in time was dead, but I made the appointment to be a gentleman and go back down there.
So you met with the state?
I met with Gina Evans. She's with the tolling authority, so she's not with the state of Georgia, but it is some form of the tolling authority. Yes, sir. And that they would actually do the tolling if it took place. Paulding County wouldn't do it. The counties, the Joint Development Authority wouldn't do it. Only one tolling authority would do it.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm going to call this meeting with a positive note or two for you to leave here thinking good things, at least two good things. It's been pointed out that we need more jobs. What hasn't been pointed out, I don't think tonight, is that 70% of people who have jobs who live here commute out. Jamie Gilbert, sitting right over here, is telling you the kind of professional program that Paulding County has for the first time ever. Not only does this county not have an interstate, but this county did not have a professional economic development program out of all the metro counties in the whole Atlanta area. We now have that. That program will take time. It will produce results. The other thing I want to share with you is what you've already shared with yourselves. You made your position very clear, and these commissioners have heard it loud and clear. Now, I'd like to conclude this by reading a statement from Erin Dunnigan. Is she still here? Okay. I think this is a beautiful statement that conveys the sentiments of all of you. And that's the way I'd like to end this tonight. My husband, 2 sons, and I moved into our home off of High Shoulder Road 16 months ago. My father moved in across the street from us shortly after that. We have no doubt that God led us to our homes, and we had enjoyed living here more than any other home we had previously lived in. To have a major road built that close to our home would completely undermine all of the reasons that we love to live in the Burnt Hickory community. The quiet, the privacy, the most importantly, the safety of our family. It is such a blessing to know our children can play outside relatively safely. It would devastate the beauty that surrounds our home and the enjoyment we have living in our home. I think everyone here can endorse that statement. Thank you so much for your attention. Commissioner,